Well, good morning, YouTubers. JJ, your boy, back at you once again. Today, we're going to do a testing on the AMD Adrenalin, the 2210-1. Okay, in previous videos, I showed you a couple things about it, the do's and the don'ts. But we're going to go through a little bit of a detail with the Adrenalin 2210-1 that's newly out by AMD. So stick around, we're going to do this B-roll here, and do stay tuned. Well, welcome back. I'm glad you made it through the B-roll. I wouldn't have made it through it. But anyway, today we're going to do the testing on the AMD Adrenalin 2210-1. I know it's kind of different to see somebody do a benchmark on the software other than, do a benchmark on the hardware. See, not a lot of people do benchmarks just on the software alone to software test it, but we're going to software test today. So, as you can see right here on the screen, nope, wrong. Right there. As you can see right there on the screen, yes, I get my left and my right mixed up. I've got it live and running. Let me fix this up on the screen a little bit better so y'all can see everything. There we go. Let's get it down to the brass tacks. There you go. Now you can see the benchmarks. Okay. Now, the thing is this gives me my temperatures. This is from AMD Adrenalin. This is their software that I'm using. Okay, this is 2210-1. See, now in the previous version, you don't get all this. You don't get all that right there. So this new version gives you more of a detail on what the GPU and the CPU are doing. As you can see, my GPU speed my clock speed's running at 2300 megahertz. My VRAM clock speed's running at 1800 megahertz. And you can see that it's at a minimal on the VRAM at 634 megabytes right now. Now, the GPU, the utilization's about 12-13 with OBS on. So this is not about OBS. This is about the Adrenalin 2210-1. And the temperatures are staying good at 32 degrees C. So, and if y'all want to know what 32 degrees C is in Fahrenheit, we can take and roll that for you too. That's 95 degrees Fahrenheit. I got two one running at Celsius and one running at Fahrenheit, so I can see both. I'm gonna, some people, they go by Fahrenheit. See, I'm a cook for 35 years. Okay, I always went by Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit always gave me a better in-depth detail of what cooking experiences are. We never ran in Celsius. Okay, running in Celsius on computers is totally different than running it in the kitchen. But anyway, The processor, the 5600G, the Ryzen 5600G, is approximately, power consumption right now is around 10 watts. And the GPU power consumption is around 22 watts. Just sitting idle. This is just sitting idle. But the temperatures are running right into low flats. So this is, understand this. This is, I didn't push this to the total max, but I pushed this to the happy medium line. Like I told you in previous videos when I did benchmarks, if you watch my previous videos on benchmarks, then you'll see the difference between what I'm going to show you now compared to back then. Okay, so getting to it. Now the benchmarks I pulled up on, what was it? Nightraid. This is about Nightraid. Nightraid and an Adrenalin. Okay. Now with Nightraid, as you can see here, I took 3 different screenshots to do this. 3. This is the first graphic test. It was running in between 50 and 60 FPS on the first one. And as you can see on the screen, you have the clock speeds all set, but the VRAM utilization was 1.7 gigabytes per second. The peak clock speed on the for the CPU side was between 1.5 gigahertz and 4.2 gigahertz. It was fluctuating. This test that I was using, I was running it at 0.25% intervals. So it was really hard to capture screenshots doing this because I wanted it quick, fast, and I wanted to see right down to the very least of the millisecond what it was doing. So this was one screenshot I captured. We got a couple more for you, so do stick around for that. And this is another one. Let me get the microphone, bring it closer. This is another one that I pulled up. I did a real live comparison. I pulled off some numbers and see where this is sitting. This is sitting just right above an MX150, GeForce MX150, but I know it does better than that. But it sits close to, the graphics sit about between a GeForce 1080 and an R9 240, somewhere in there. It's a little bit better than that. But anyway, let's get back to it. I'll show you the numbers at the end. Just keep watching the video through. You'll see what I'm talking about. You can see that the power consumption on the GPU side was 53 watts. Okay. Now, on the CPU side, that's a total different story. It was only pulling 12 watts on the CPU side. Now, do remember, this computer does not have a discrete graphics card. This is all iGPU, integrated graphics. This is, sorry about that. It's all integrated graphics. There is no discrete graphics card in my computer. Okay. Now, the testing that I did a while back on the old drivers, which we'll pull up the numbers in a moment, what happened is that when I pulled up, the previous drivers that I had in here were glitchy. They were like micro stutters all over the place. And, you know, it was a really, really, really bad experience. You know, it was a nightmare to me. To me, it was a nightmare. So, you know, everybody's saying, you know, the 22.9, whatever, you know, from the 22.9s, I can tell you the 22 4s and the 22.5s, okay, and Adrenalin were nightmares. Everybody said go to the 22.9.3. I never attempted it, because I know if it's like the 22.4s and 22.5s, that it's probably going to be the same. Now, do remind you all, this is ran in 1080p. Okay, this is not running 1440 or anything else. This is just 1080p. The reason why I'm not doing 1440 or the 4K side was because they built in that extra boost kind of thing. If y'all want to test that out on your own, that's fine. But the thing is I wanted to see what it is as an average normal gamer setting, is the 1080p setting. That's what the average normal gamer runs, is 1080p. Okay, this is what they put their money into, is getting 1080p. Okay, not a lot of people have that kind of money to be running, you know, 2K and 4K and so on, you know, 8K. People don't have that kind of money. They don't have thousands and thousands of dollars. This is just your average kind of Joe. This is your average guy running 1080p. Okay, simple said and put. Now, when I see the prices go down on 4K and stuff like that, I mean, when they go down to like where they're at for 1080p setting, and then you know that average guy can afford that 4K, that's when I'll take and go up to that next point of testing. But until then, I'm going to give you the real time testing right now, what people in an average use. This is what the average people use, is 1080p. So I just wanted to break that down really good for y'all, so you understand where I'm coming from when I do my testing. Okay, but with the new software that they have, the new drivers that AMD put out, they are balls to the wall. I mean, you can see in this testing here, I mean, between 50 and 60 FPS off of the first graphics test. Okay. Now, the second graphics test, it was giving me between 121 FPS to 160 FPS. I couldn't capture the 160 FPS because it was just running too fast. I mean, but as you can see, I captured a 121 FPS shot, and you can see the difference in test 2. It's 53 watts, and on the CPU side it's only 11 watts. See, now I'm noticing too with the Ryzen 5600G, it's not it's more or less like CPU bound. When it comes to iGPU, it's more CPU bound than it is iGPU bound. Okay, the reason why I'm saying this, because I'll show you in the next test, that the reason why it's more CPU bound is because it's more restricted. I have to go and tinker with the settings to get the CPU average to come up a little bit more, but is the consumption and everything is just astronomical. That more of the power is being put to the iGPU than it is the CPU. So I'm just going to point that out really carefully. See, because right here you can see it says 53 watts on the iGPU. Okay, and the temperature stayed at 38°C. That's not bad. That's really good. And it's at 99%. It did not hit that 100% mark. It stayed right at 99%. It's at the 2300 megahertz. And believe it or not, if you go into the BIOS, you can set this to the iGPU to extreme and get 2300 megahertz. If you didn't know that, all you got, if you got an asus motherboard, the B450 or higher, you can go in there and you can set the iGPU all the way up. Probably with the 550 you can set it higher. So do understand, you can upgrade your iGPU higher if you didn't know that. So I haven't seen not many videos on this. You know, everybody's like focused on discrete graphics cards, but you know, I'm more or less, I'm going to be right now, I'm focused on the iGPUs and what they do, because this is where nobody focuses on. This right here, I'm doing this in real time. I'm not shading anything to anybody. You know, if you want me to run this test in real time, I mean like now, hold on a minute. What we're going to do is this. We're going to go ahead and we're going to run this. We're going to run this in real time. So this way you all see. So we're going to go ahead and take this off of the screen for the moment. You're not going to be able to see me actually run the benchmark, but I'm going to talk you all the way through it. Unless you want to see the benchmark, yeah, that's going to be a little difficult. Because I don't have a third screen to actually show you the actual benchmark running. You know what? Why don't we do this? We'll save that for another video. Let's just get back to doing this video right here. We'll run this 3D Mark Nightraid in another video, so that way we don't make this one too long. How about that? So getting back to it, this is the second graphics test. Now, why I say it's more CPU bound than iGPU bound is this. Going over here, this is the CPU test. And it shows that it was doing on an average between 10 and 15 FPS. It was only utilizing between 55 and 60%. The peak clock speed was hanging in at around maybe on average 4.2, between 3.9 and 4.2. The voltage was hanging in there at 1.4 volts. The core temperature for the CPU was sitting at about 59°C. The power consumption was at 46 watts, between 46 and 52 watts. The current was sitting at about 94 amps current draw, and so on. So as you can see right here what it was doing. Now what drew my attention to knowing that it was more iGPU bound was that the iGPU was at between 21 and 25%, and it was drawing at 63 watts on the iGPU side, with the temperature on the iGPU sitting at 43 degrees C. And it was pulling on the VRAM at about 170 megabytes per second, 870 megabytes per second. And you can see that the CPU, the GPU clock speed still sitting at 2300 megahertz, and the RAM clock speeds, memory clock speed sitting at 1800 megahertz. Now we get down to the juicy part, the results. I put a little character on there for you. Oh, by the way, if you do own an asus motherboard, see this character on the screen that's down in the bottom right? It is a screen pet that asus kicked out to everybody. Make sure you download that as well. Big shout out to asus as well. So, looking at the Nightraid total score, the total score I got was 1600-275, and it says it was good. Okay, well, that's cool that it says it was good. Graphics score was at 1700-536. The CPU score was 11,565. And that seems like it was, that right there, it seems like it was happy to me. You know, it seems like it was doing really good on that. But all in all, the driver software for the AMD Adrenalin is bodacious, as you can see. It's running the iGPU very well, and it's keeping up with everything it's supposed to do. So let me go ahead and clear this off the screen. So, my final thoughts. If AMD has sent out to you an update for your iGPU or your discrete graphics card, there are some do's and don'ts. Do read very carefully through the thing they sent out, for the cause and effects for the crashes and the fixes. So you just want to concentrate on if it's going to be right for your graphics card or not. Always read before downloading, make sure you read the causes and effects and the possible bugs and fixes. So that way you know if it'll work right for your graphics card or not. And if you feel that it's not going to work right for your graphics card and your drivers are running great for you, then stick with that. But in order to get that boost that you were looking for, that everybody's talking about online, the reviewers are talking about online, is if you have 4K. That's the only way you're going to get that special boost that you're looking for off of this software, is from 4K. You're not going to get it from 1080p. But all in all, the driver software is running well. It runs great for 1080p, but it's not 4K. They've only based this software here on 4K only. Just a personal note, all the drivers and software that's on the AMD Adrenalin 2210.1 is all at factory. So everything you see is directly at factory. There's no modifications whatsoever. I just wanted to see what this software did at stock and if it's well worth it. I've already went through all the software to make sure that, you know, everything's in check, and it looks like everything is in check. So, you know, let's continue on. Okay, when I'm finishing the rest of that highlight, what I'm gonna do is this. I decided I'm gonna pull this up for y'all so you can see it. The highlights. It supports Overwatch 2, GPU, the fixed issues. The GPU for image processing option may not be available for using Adobe Lightroom on Radeon RX 6000 series GPUs. Okay, I figured I'm going to touch back on this since, you know, I'm coming to my conclusions of if this is going to be really a great software for everybody to use or not. So, app crashes may experienced in Street Fighter 6 beta. Just to let you know, if you're running Street Fighter 6 beta, it's not going to work for you. Radeon Super Resolution may fail to trigger after changing resolution to HDR settings on games such as Nioh 2. Okay, it's not going to stay consistent. So if you're looking for it to be a consistent boost resolution for your graphics, it's not going to be a total, you know, it's not going to be total boost 24/7. See, that's the problem. You know, it should be able to where the user, now AMD, understand this. It should be able to be used at 1080p, and it should be able to be used at any setting that you have, and it should be controlled by the user on their software, on their computer, compared to being out there in the real world. You should be able to have access to how to control it, how to use it if you want to use it or you don't. You should be able to have some kind of a control measure to it. But what you're doing is you're taking the architecture setting, you're taking your architecture, and you're letting the game makers decide if you're allowed to use it or not. Us on our PC as a consumer, and the game makers did not pay for our graphics card to be on our computer. So we should be able to have that advantage to have that control of software on our computer. Other than the game makers having it, we should be able to have it too. So where there's games that don't have it, we should be able to have access to where we can use it. That would be a perfect thing, to where we can control it on our computers to be able to do that. Just to let you know. That's just a thought, just giving you a thought. You know, it should be both sides. You know, we should have some kind of level of control because we're the consumers, we're the ones paying for this. We're the ones that pay for the games to the game makers. We're the ones that pay for the graphics cards. We're the ones that pay for the CPUs. We're the ones that pay for the motherboards. You know, we should have some kind of level of control in our software on our PCs that's able to control the details of the graphics. We have only 60% of that control. The rest of the control is at the game makers. Game makers decide if they want us to have it or not. We should have 100% control on our PC to decide if we want it or not. Not the game makers. They can decide what they want. They can give you an option if you want to use it on their games, that we can turn it on and off on our computer. That's an option. But for them to be able to put it on their games as an option, we lose control. Come on, that's common sense. We lose control because we can't control it on our PC. We have no level of control. They're controlling our software on our PCs by their games, which is causing more problems than good. Just to let you know. I've had this issue for many of years with 3D gaming, to where the game makers, they decided to take their software and giving us full control, and giving us what they call a light software, to where we have only 60% control, but they have the rest of the control. Okay, later on down the road. You know, from 2002 to 2016, we were able to have more control than we are now. From 2016 to 2022, CPU, GPU makers and game makers said, screw it. The public, the consumer doesn't have control anymore. That's not fair. I look at things a little bit differently, just to let you know that. So, but getting back to it, now, all you got to do is you go to AMD's site, you go and read down the specs. I'm not going to read down every little spec to tell you exactly the do's and the don'ts. Okay? It's common sense. If you go to AMD's site, it's right there. AMD software, Adrenalin Edition 2210.1, release notes. All you got to do is read the release notes and see if it applies to you or not. Most of the stuff that's here that they're talking about does not apply to the iGPU I have. Most of it doesn't apply to the iGPU at all. This is only like the 6000 series graphics cards. That's what this applies to. But and the 6700, the 6000 series is including the 6700 XT. It's not including the iGPU from the Ryzen 5600G. Just to let you know that. But anyway, this video is getting longer than usual, so like and subscribe if you like my videos. Leave me a comment below if you want to share something with me. I would be more than happy. I appreciate it, and gonna listen to you as well. I do keep the comments open, so you can comment anytime you want. Watch the video, make your comments. Let me know what I'm doing wrong and what I'm doing right. Okay? And if I'm doing something wrong, then I'm doing something wrong. Also, too, just to let you know, we are trying to push for the 1,000 subscribers for this channel. Now, I am working as hard as I can. I know it seems like I'm sitting right here, in one spot, just trying to preach to the choir, which I'm not. I'm bringing you information that's going on in my daily, work bin. Okay, this is a daily work bin for me. But I do got coming soon, and listen to this. I'm going to be doing a reconstruction video of this place. As you see it now, you see it as it is now. I will be giving you footage on the before, and I will be giving you footage on the after. That video is going to be coming out in a little while, and when I reconstruct this whole place, this is going to be a transformation you have never seen before. So you better stick around. The videos are going to get better. I'm only a month into this. Yes, I am a new YouTuber. I can admit it. But I am not giving up. If that's what you're wondering, my channel, I will not give up. And that's just the way I roll. But like I said, like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next video. This is Jay, your boy, signing out.